Making headlines this hour, recovery mission in East Bexar County. Details on the progress made to find the body of a woman swept away in high water.
Plus, the Texas abortion law, another step closer to the Supreme Court. Details on where the issue now stands.
A cold front is on our doorstep. A couple showers with the front, some gusty winds and cooler conditions tonight. That update coming up.
Live from KSAT 12, the news at noon starts right now.
These are anxious hours for the family of a woman who has been missing since yesterday morning. A driver whose car was caught up in high water.
Firefighters relaunching their efforts this morning to recover her body from the car that is still underwater. It's happening off Greytown Road, not too far from the city of St. Hedwig.
Katrina Weber is there live. She's got the latest for us on the details. Katrina?
Well, good morning. So far, we haven't heard anything yet. We have been poised, all of us news crews are poised, waiting for an update, which we expect will come soon. But again, we haven't heard anything just yet. What we have seen are firefighters and deputies going back into the scene after what was a grueling day yesterday. We found out late yesterday afternoon that they had recovered the body of a 5-year-old girl. She and the woman who is still missing were in separate cars that got caught up in the floodwaters from the Martinez Creek. Both cars had children in them on their way to school. Firefighters managed to rescue 4 of those children and a man, but because of the swift-moving water, they were not able to reach the girl right away, and they still have not found the woman. Now, yesterday, the sheriff told us that the woman made a desperate call for help when this happened.
You know, as heartbreaking as it sounds, my understanding is at least one of the calls came from the woman who's now missing. From reading the details on the call, it sounds as if she may have actually been on the phone with dispatch when some of this was unfolding.
Yeah, there were many agencies involved in the rescue and now the recovery efforts, from state troopers to the firefighters and sheriff's deputies to school district police. Now, more than 24 hours later, their work still is not done. Now, just recently, we heard from some people who stopped by the scene here. They say they are related to the missing woman. They told us that they are awaiting word. They have not heard anything either themselves. And they did tell us, though, that she was in a car with 2 children, and they are not related to the people who were in the other car, that other car containing the 5-year-old girl who they did recover. He says that they're not related, but perhaps maybe neighbors. So that is different from what we had been told by the sheriff all day yesterday. So these are actually 2 separate families in 2 different cars who are now impacted by what happened here. A heartbreaking story either way. Reporting live in East Bexar County, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
San Antonio police still looking for 2 people involved in a West Side shooting that sent 1 man to the hospital. It happened around 10 last night at a home on South San Joaquin near Old Highway 90. That's where San Antonio police say 2 men in their 20s pulled up in a dark-colored sedan and called out for the victim by name. When he came outside, one of the men shot him in the leg. The victim was taken to the hospital, and he is expected to be okay.
A man now arrested for a hammer attack at a construction site. It was an argument between construction workers. 32-year-old Sammy Villa now accused of hitting a fellow worker in the head with a hammer. It happened back on August 31st, and a supervisor saw it happen. The man who was hit was taken to the hospital to be treated. Police were able to arrest Villa a couple of days later after the incident. We want to give you the latest now on the Texas abortion law. It is the most restrictive in the country, and it's another step closer to the Supreme Court this afternoon.
A federal appeals court rejecting the Biden administration's latest attempt to stop the law, which bans most abortions. ABC's Rachel Scott is tracking the case from the White House.
The Texas Attorney General calling this a big win, but this is not the news the Biden administration wanted. The Fifth Circuit, known to be one of the most conservative appeals courts in the country, siding with the state of Texas, allowing the most restrictive abortion law in the nation to stand. This bans abortions as early as 6 weeks into a woman's pregnancy. That is before many women even know that they are pregnant. And the last several weeks for women in Texas have been whiplash as this law makes its way through the courts. The next move is on the Justice Department, but this does lay the groundwork for the challenge to reach the Supreme Court. And until a higher court weighs in, the reality for most women in Texas is if they want an abortion, they will have to travel out of state to get it. Rachel Scott, ABC News, the White House.
A major milestone in the effort to increase COVID vaccinations. City and county officials now celebrating the fact that more than 75% of local residents 12 and older are now vaccinated. As of yesterday, more than 1.2 million residents fully vaccinated, and more than 90% of people have received at least one dose of the vaccine. While Mayor Ron Nirenberg is pleased with this progress, he did say to remember that children younger than 12 are still not eligible for vaccines, so we still have a long way to go for our community to be fully vaccinated.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has been telling us that getting the COVID-19 vaccine can save your life. And new data now backs up those claims. According to the CDC, unvaccinated adults are 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than fully vaccinated adults. They also face 6 times higher risk of testing positive. With the number of COVID-19 cases dropping, the risk of unvaccinated people dying from the virus has also dropped. But the risk of hospitalization among that group has continued to climb. The CDC gathered data from 14 states representing 30% of the population.
If you still need to get your COVID vaccine, there are a couple of pop-up clinics that are opening up this afternoon. One is on the east side at 7th Day Advent on East Houston Street from 3 to 6. There's one downtown. It's at the SAISD Burnett Learning Center from 2 to 6. You can find more information about these clinics at KSAT.com.
And also happening today, the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center is hosting a blood drive where 2 Spurs season opening tickets will be given out. The blood drive will take place at the Donor Pavilion at I-10 West at First Park 10 Boulevard. Appointments can be made at southtexasblood.org or by calling 210-731-5590. Tickets will be given out while supplies last. All donors will also get a $20 gift card by email. The season opening game is next Wednesday, October 20th.
A new Halloween-themed sausage is getting a lot of attention, but not the good kind of attention. We'll tell you why just ahead.
And big game coverage after a great weekend. Taft Raiders just keep rolling. Larry Ramirez with highlights from last night's action coming up.
And the Witte now showing guests what makes you, you through a new exhibit. Details on what it's all about and when you can check it out. We know what they look like, but you ever wondered exactly what our bodies are made up of and what that looks like?
The Witte Museum is now taking guests on a journey into the microbiome that makes you, you, through the exhibit called The Secret World Inside You.
This exhibit debuts tomorrow morning. Interactive displays offer new perspectives about bacteria, viruses, and other microbes that live inside your body. The exhibit is organized by the American Museum of Natural History in New York and also includes larger-than-life models, videos, art installations, and live presentations.
We're really excited because in this exhibit, we're going to have a lab space. So thanks to our partners of Texas Biomed, UTSA, and Metro Health, we are going to have Saturdays with a scientist. That includes bacteriologists, immunologists, and of course, like the Witte Museum, we have our great programs team, and we'll have be introducing a new interactor, Major Microbe. So you'll be learning so much, again, of like what really helps us. And, you know, bacteria, fungi, and things like that live on us.
The Secret World Inside You will be open until April of next year. A lot of time to figure out you.
It's kind of gross, though. Fungus and microbes, bacteria.
If you ever watch one of those shows and you see what's inside the human body, you know.
Might gross you out.
Yeah.
The weather is about to make a major chemical change, right?
Nicely put. Yes, we're going to see some changes as we get into this afternoon. Some good changes. I think we're all ready for this cold front, right? It is on our doorsteps, moving through the whole country right now. Aquifer still rising, up a foot to 663.8. That's a great number. Hopefully we continue to see this rise another couple of days. Molds are high, though, as a result of that rainfall. 3,660 ragweed is low at 90. We are tracking this cold front. We'll let you know where it is and when it moves through. Coming up.
is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar News. Over 10,000 Deere employees walked off the job Thursday, going on strike for the first time in 35 years. It is the latest labor dispute of many here in the U.S. as Deere employees demand higher wages and broadened benefits from the farm and construction equipment company. Walgreens says it is increasing its focus on healthcare and will evolve into the company's new growth engine. This comes after Walgreens announced that it has agreed to become the majority owner of VillageMD. As part of the deal, the drugstore chain will invest $5.2 billion in the primary care company, which will remain independent. It comes as Walgreens and VillageMD partner to open doctors' offices within hundreds of drugstores. And Boeing says that parts of its 787 Dreamliner aircraft were improperly manufactured over the past 3 years. Boeing and the FAA say the defects do not affect flight safety. The parts found to have issues were fittings on a section of the cabin floor, along with other brackets and clips. And that's your Cheddar News business and tech update. I'm Brad Smith from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
We were talking about gross, maybe some inside your body.
This is kind of like the gross newscast.
A new Halloween themed sausage from a Wisconsin meat market getting a lot of attention. The Spooktoberfest brat has 3 ingredients: pork, beer, and candy corn.
Where do they come up with this stuff? CNN's Judy Mose reports on a very unique combination.
Meet the latest meat. See those little orange things in the bratwurst? It's candy corn. That's what they're selling for $4.99 a pound at the Jennifer Street Market in Madison, Wisconsin. The main ingredients: pork, beer, and candy corn.
Somebody said that this should be a felony offense, so I don't think I've done anything wrong, though.
Spooktoberfest brats is what the market calls them. Slightly sweet and not scary at all. Wrong, says this hot dog gif. This is a war crime.
Certainly not.
WMTV morning anchor Tim Elliott described himself as one of the first guinea pigs to taste what he calls the Frankenweenie.
I mean, it was good. It was salty and sweet. The candy corn actually melts when they heat it up, so it kind of disperses the sweetness throughout.
But don't expect the insults to be dispersed. WTF is wrong with the American Midwest. The meat manager at the Jennifer Street Market says they often experiment with their brats. They've had duds.
We did try one with root beer. We also tried a loaded baked potato that did not do very well.
The candy corn brats seem to fit right in with Fruit Loops Pizza from Iowa, and even Nabisco has put candy corn in limited edition Oreos. And before you say this candy corn brat is the worst, at least taste the bratwurst.
Delicious.
Jeannie Mose, CNN.
I ate a whole brat, the whole thing. I wanted another one.
New York.
He's got a point, though. That salty, sweet mixture gets him every time.
I give those guys credit. You know, they're stepping out, trying new things.
Okay. And what was the other one? The pizza made out of Lucky Charms? No.
Fruit Loops.
Do you have to reinvent the wheel? I mean, some things work because, you know, they've worked all along.
Apparently.
Just saying.
I've tried a lot of stuff in my life, but I'm not. Yeah,
You're not up for that?
I can take a bite.
I'm surprised. I was about to say, David would at least take a bite.
At least try
If I can order some, and we'll have you taste it.
All right. We'll see if it's sweet and salty.
Make it happen.
He eats anything.
It's true.
You know that.
Well, guys, we are still dealing with some of those waters that obviously we had some high water with those storms, but some of that water is still draining into our creeks and rivers. And I got to pass this along. There's still some flood issues down to the south and east of us as that water drains towards the Gulf of Mexico. Basically, we have some minor flooding along the San Antonio River and then along Cibolo Creek as you get down towards Karnes City and Falls City. And then the Guadalupe River around Gonzales is still high. And then Sandy's Creek near Westhoff, that's where there's still some major flooding, although those numbers should start to come down here soon as that flows down towards the Victoria area. So just a heads up, yes, the rain is gone, but some of these creeks and rivers are still a little bit swollen. So be careful south and east of town on some of those low water crossings. Still could be some issues. We are tracking a cold front. This is the big news today. We're excited about the cooler air coming in. And right now, we can see that the numbers are much cooler up around Lubbock and Amarillo in the 50s right now, 63 in Abilene, 71 Dallas. That front is on our doorstep, starting to work into the hill country as we speak. Obviously, the cooler air comes in. We also get the drier air. Dew points in the 30s and 40s behind the boundary. Out ahead of it, it is still very sticky. We had fog this morning because the air was extremely thick. You know, it's cold enough up north around Amarillo and Lubbock where they have a freeze watch. They're going to get down close to freezing tonight up in the Texas Panhandle. Just give you an idea of how cool this air is. Satellite picture shows we do have some clouds, especially right along the front. And in fact, we are now getting some thunderstorm development, showers and storms right along the front. I think as this moves towards San Antonio, we certainly could see a little bit of rain out of this. It won't last very long. It's not going to be a flooding rain. It'll be quick moving, but we could see some claps of thunder, maybe some lightning out of this as that front comes through. And right now we think that'll be around 2 or 3 o'clock here in San Antonio. Looking outside, we've got partly cloudy skies right now, 84 degrees, but it feels like 91 thanks to a dew point of 74. Sticky for sure. 85 degrees in New Braunfels, 85 Pleasanton, 82 in Divine, 78 right now in Lost Maples, and 80 up there in Junction, but the front is, again, right there, right about to move through Junction in Fredericksburg here probably within the hour or so. So the Futurecast shows front sinking south by 3 o'clock. There is that broken line of showers and storms as it does. And then by 5 o'clock, that activity is moving down towards Pleasanton, Carrizo Springs, and over towards the Gonzales area. Gusty winds kicking in this evening. If you're going to some of those football games tonight, it's going to be windy and it's going to be cooler. Temperatures probably slipping into the 60s by the time those games get to halftime, and those winds are going to be gusting probably around 30 miles per hour or so out of the north. So 20% chance of rain around 2 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock. And then by 5 o'clock, 76, 70 by 7 o'clock, and then 66 by 10 p.m. The wind gust forecast, still seeing some gusts up around 30 or so over tonight, through tonight, and into early tomorrow. The extended forecast, 75 tomorrow, windy especially for the first half of the day. Look at that low Sunday morning, 48, 73 for a high with quite a bit of cloud cover, I think, on Sunday. And next week, highs in the 80s, maybe another chance of rain on Thursday. So a pretty significant change there, kind of our first good fall front here coming through today.
It'll make the pumpkin spice taste better.
That's right.
Did you hear Larry?
What?
He was all excited about these.
Excited for this cooler weather.
Oh, I thought you were excited about the candy corn bratwurst.
You know, I would try it.
Would you try that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for that. Okay. But hey, let's go to the sports teases, all right? And keep the show rolling along, guys. Spurs. Fast guards make the game easier for them. Plus, breaking the Bucks faced the Eagles last night. The Bucks are looking good coming up. The Spurs will close out their preseason schedule tonight at home with the Houston Rockets. One more tune-up before the regular season starts Wednesday night at home with Orlando. The Spurs have two speedy point guards and veterans DeJounte Murray and Derek White, which make the game easier for guys like Doug McDermott.
Pop's given us a lot of freedom out there to, whoever wants to take the ball out as fast as you can to get it up the floor. So that's something we're really emphasizing to play fast. And, I think every basketball player in the world prefers to play fast. So when you have two guys with that kind of speed and, those kind of instincts, it's really fun to play with.
Spurs will host the Rockets tonight, 7:30 to close out their preseason. Lonnie Walker IV is available. He's been dealing with a left quad contusion. The Stevens Falcons trying to take down the Taft Raiders at Ferris Stadium last night. BGC action. The Raiders are going for it on 4th and 6 from the Stevens 44. Quarterback Justice Hurt going deep to Jaden Ailman, who makes a great leaping one-handed grab down to the Falcons 12. Moments later, Hurt fakes the handoff, runs to his left, doesn't like what he sees, so cuts back to his right and finds some daylight all the way to the end zone. 6-yard touchdown makes it 7-0. Taft in the final from Ferris. Taft wins 21-19. The Warren Warriors played the J Mustangs at the Gus. Warren up 14-2 and adding to it. Running back Nathan Medeles going right up the middle for a 22-yard touchdown. It's 21-2 Warren. The Warriors defense coming up big. The Mustangs fumble the handoff. The ball is loose on the turf. Diego Ramirez sweeps in and he is off to the races. 87-yard fumble return makes it 28-2 Warren. And the Warren Warriors take this by the final score of 42-16. Burbank Bulldogs looking to bite the visiting Minutemen from Memorial at the SAISD Sports Complex. Bucks. Burbank punting from their own 13. Snap is too high. Ball sails into the end zone. Bruno Flores knocks the punter out of bounds before he has a chance to scoop it up. That's a safety to 2-0 Memorial. That would be the halftime score, and Burbank wins a low-scoring game, 6-2. Out in Bernie, the Greyhounds hosting Uvalde Coyotes. First drive for the game of Bernie. Running back Riley Petrosek goes in motion. He finds a seam, runs down the sideline. Easy pitch and catch for quarterback Rashawn Galloway. 36-yard touchdown as Galloway's 75th career touchdown pass. Bernie would miss the extra point. 6-0 Greyhounds, and Bernie rolls at home 54-17.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
Tom Brady and the Bucks at the Eagles last night to kick off Week 6 in the NFL. First quarter action. Brady with plenty of time, looking around. He finds Antonio Brown for a 23-yard touchdown and a 14-7 lead. One of 2 touchdown passes for Brady last night. After trailing 28-7, the Eagles tried to come back. Quarterback Jalen Hurts breaks off this 2-yarder in the fourth quarter. 2-point conversion was good. Eagles trailed 28-22 with 6 minutes left, but Tampa Bay would run out the clock on its next series to end the game, and the Bucks win 28-22.
I think he can win another one.
Brady?
Yeah.
Be nice. Would he be like 55, 60 years old?
Something like that, yeah.
And where are you going tonight? You going to tell us next half hour, or you can tell us?
I'll tell you next half hour. How's that?
Well,
because it's in my next half hour of sports.
Perfect.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
A Texas school official telling teachers both sides need to be taught when talking about the Holocaust. What he's now saying, though, after receiving tons of backlash.
We begin this half hour on Capitol Hill. The committee investigating the January 6th insurrection is insisting former Trump advisor Steve Bannon must be held in criminal contempt for failing to comply with their subpoena.
And if the Justice Department decides to prosecute Bannon, he could face time behind bars. ABC's Elizabeth Schultze has more from Washington.
Former top Trump advisor Steve Bannon is facing the risk of criminal charges as he fails to comply with the congressional investigation into the January 6th insurrection. Bannon defying a subpoena and refusing to testify about former President Trump's actions that day and any role Trump may have played in the deadly riot. The House Select Committee is now moving to hold Bannon in criminal contempt, a decision that will ultimately be made by the Justice Department. The committee chairman making clear on CNN, Bannon must be prosecuted.
If he refuses the subpoena, like we expect him to continue to do, then we're left with no other choice than to ask the Justice Department, lock him up, and hold him in contempt.
Bannon is not backing down. His lawyer says Mr. Bannon will not be producing documents or testifying unless the committee first reaches an agreement with Trump, who has directed Bannon not to testify, citing executive privilege. Invoking executive privilege to shield information from Congress and the courts is a practice typically reserved for sitting presidents and covers sensitive conversations between the president and staffers working for them. In Bannon's case, he hasn't worked in the White House since 2017. President Biden has already determined Trump's records are not covered by executive privilege. Bannon could face up to a year behind bars and a $100,000 fine if the DOJ prosecutes and a jury finds him guilty.
Other former Trump aides are also refusing to cooperate with the investigation. The committee's action against Bannon could send them a strong signal. Elizabeth Schultze, ABC News, Washington.
Election Day is right around the corner, and this year, Texans are going to be voting on potential changes to our state's constitution.
The proposed additions were passed as bills during this year's legislative session. So here's a look at some of those propositions. Prop 1 is rodeo raffles. Prop 2, tax financing for county infrastructure. Prop 3, restrictions on religious services. And Prop 4, state judge eligibility.
Prop 5, judicial misconduct process. Prop 6, essential caregiver designation. Prop 7, property tax exemptions for bereaved families. Prop 8, property tax exemptions for military families.
And you can find more information about each proposition on our website, KSAT.com. Election Day is November 2nd, but early voting will begin on Monday.
A bill that restricts how transgender students participate in school sports now headed to the Texas Senate. It cleared the House during a special session yesterday and is expected to pass the Senate as well. If the bill passes, public school students who are athletes born male will only be allowed to play on boys' sports teams. Athletes born female will only be allowed on girls' sports teams unless an all-girls team at the school does not exist.
A school official in Texas is under fire for telling teachers if they have a book on the Holocaust, they also must have one opposing the historical documentation of it. The executive director of curriculum for a suburban Dallas school district made the comment at a training session for elementary school teachers. School officials were explaining how teachers should implement a new law in Texas that seeks to restrict discussion of race and history in schools. A staff member recorded this exchange with Gina Petty in a hallway after the session had ended among a smaller group of educators.
Just try to remember the concepts of 3979 and make sure that if you have a book on the Holocaust, that you have one that has opposing, that has other.
How do you oppose the Holocaust?
You can hear one of the teachers asking, how do you oppose the Holocaust? Petty can be heard on a longer recording answering that question with, quote, "Believe me, that's coming up." The district superintendent has issued an apology saying we recognize there are not two sides of the Holocaust.
Taking a look outside with live cam. Hang on to your hats. It's about to change.
Yeah, things are about to change. That front is on our doorstep. It's already kicking up some showers and storms. And as you look out on live cam, we've got some clouds trying to bubble up even here around San Antonio. So a couple showers before that front gets here, entirely possible. Let's jump over to radar and I'll show you where these storms are right now. Up around the Lakey area, we are picking up on some lightning strikes. And I'll zoom in a little bit closer here for you. This is right along the front, so Camp Wood getting a quick downpour. These aren't going to last very long. This is not going to cause flooding or anything like that. But don't be surprised if you hear a couple claps of thunder or perhaps some rain here around San Antonio a little bit later this afternoon. Here's a little closer look at some of those pop-up showers we're seeing here in Bexar County, one there in southern Bexar County. These, again, are going to be quick moving and fairly light. But along that front, we could see a broken line of showers and storms. If you're heading out to some football games tonight, we're not expecting rain. The rain will be done by then, but it will be windy. That front will kick up winds out of the north anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour, maybe even 15 to 25 with some gusts up around 30. 70 at kickoff, but 66 by halftime. You may want to grab your coat. And looking at temperatures right now, we've made it into the mid-80s, but temperatures are starting to fall up there across the hill country, where that frontal boundary has made it through. 82 Kerrville, 81 Comfort, mid-80s here in Bexar County. In the forecast for today, 20% chance rain with that front will probably make it into the upper 80s before temperatures fall off tonight into the 70s and again 60s and 50s by tomorrow morning, guys.
50s. Looking forward to it. In your health headlines, more COVID-19 boosters could be on the way. Vaccine advisors to the Food and Drug Administration are meeting today. They're deciding whether to recommend Johnson & Johnson's booster dose. And the drug maker says those studies are showing boosting at 2, 6, or 8 months can bring the vaccine's effectiveness up to 94%. Its regular one dose had an overall efficacy of 72%. And about 15 million people in the U.S. have gotten the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Also in your health headlines, is it possible to avoid cognitive decline without medications? As ABC's Dan Lieberman explains, it is possible.
There are 3 key ways to improve memory and thinking that don't involve medication, according to Dr. Hempstead, a neuropsychologist at Michigan Medicine. These are exercise, brain training, and a new technique called neuromodulation. Research shows that people who are more physically active have better cognitive functioning across their lifespan. But less than 5% of adults are getting the recommended daily amount of exercise, 30 minutes per day. Brain training, another helpful tool, involves simple memory tasks like rehearsing new people's names, playing memory games, and using mnemonics. Finally, neuromodulation is a method that stimulates neurons in the brain using small electrical currents. It's still being studied and is thought to work best when combined with the 2 first tools. The good news is that exercise and brain training is easily available to anyone. helping to keep our cognitive abilities intact. With this Medical Minute, I'm Dan Lieberman, ABC News.
Still ahead on your news at noon, those who receive Social Security checks are going to see a big increase next year.
And the Houston Astros getting ready to host Boston in the ALCS. Game 1 tonight. Lara Ramirez with a preview coming up in sports.
Another round of child tax credits on their way now to parents. How many children researchers believe the money has helped so far. Millions of U.S. families receiving their fourth enhanced child tax credit payment. The IRS saying that averages to $428. The coronavirus relief package in March making the credit fully refundable, triggering those payments. Columbia University researchers think the first two payments lifted more than 3 million children out of poverty.
Meanwhile, Social Security checks will see a big increase next year. The monthly benefit is going up 5.9%. It's the biggest rise since 1982. The cost of living increase, or COLA, is an effort to keep up with inflation, which has been surging this year. The adjustment adds $92 a month to a typical Social Security payment, bringing it to $1,657.
Butterball recalling some of its ground turkey products due to the possible contamination. The company says small pieces of hard blue plastic may have ended up in some of the products. That recall affecting more than 14,000 pounds of ground turkey sold at BJ's and Kroger grocery stores. It includes 2.5-pound trays of farm-to-family Butterball all-natural ground turkey with a freeze-by date of October 18th. People who still have these products in their freezers are urged to either throw them away or return them to the store for a refund.
Looking forward to tonight. So as long as this rain gets it in and out before kickoff, we can deal with a little wind and some cooler temperatures. That'll be easy to handle.
Yeah, I think it will. I think the rain primarily would be affecting San Antonio 2, 3, maybe 4 o'clock. Then the rain gets out of here. For folks south of San Antonio, though, you may still have to deal with a few thunderstorms during the evening hours. 85 degrees so far today, 72 the low this morning, so it did not cool off at all. We started off with fog. Tomorrow morning is going to be really different. Gusty winds, much cooler, and we're going to see some dry air over the weekend, too. Weekend forecast looks pretty good. We'll update you with the radar and that forecast coming up.
In the spotlight, former President Bill Clinton could be released from the hospital as soon as today. He was admitted earlier this week after falling ill during a trip to California. Doctors believe the former president may have had a blood infection known as sepsis, but says he is responding well to antibiotics. He was tested for COVID, and the results came back negative.
Cher is suing the widow of her ex-husband, Sonny Bono. The iconic singer alleging that Mary Bono is illegally withholding royalties from songs that Sonny and Cher recorded together. Those hits include I've Got You, Babe, and The Beat Goes On. The lawsuit claims they agreed to split revenue from the songs recorded together at that time. The lawsuit seeking at least $1 million.
And former NFL coach John Gruden is off the real football field and soon off the virtual one. EA Sports says it is working to remove Gruden from its popular video game, Madden NFL 22. He resigned as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders this week after a series of vulgar emails he sent while he was at ESPN and an analyst there. The video game company plans to replace Gruden with a generic likeness in the coming weeks.
In just the last couple of minutes, we've seen this thunderstorm line appear west of us. Is that headed our way, Justin?
Well, I think we'll at least see a broken line of showers and storms that will work in our direction as this front gets a little bit closer. And you can see some of the lightning strikes there near Lakey and then southeastern parts of Edwards County, broken line there. And this may expand a little bit further east, but that is right along the front that is working its way south and east. So let's zoom in a little bit closer. If you're watching us from Lakey, you're going to get a few rumbles of thunder here. Some pretty heavy rain right around Camp Wood, in fact. That's where the heaviest of the rain is right now. Also seeing some showers popping up just north of Medina. Those are pretty light. And I think most of everything we're going to see today is going to be light. If you do get one of the heavier thunderstorms, it's going to work through quickly. So flooding is not really an issue. I know we're kind of sensitive to that, considering what we've seen the last couple of days. But this is going to be moving through at a pretty quick rate. Also seeing a couple showers here, northern Bexar County, just south of Boulevard, just east of 281. Seeing a shower pop up there. We've noticed Pardon me. A couple showers popping up there just south of 604 in southern Bexar County. So we'll see a little bit more of this over the next couple of hours. Some of these hit or miss showers and then that broken line right along the front. And the futurecast continues to show that possibility. This is around 3 o'clock. And I think that's probably when we're seeing that front move through San Antonio. So give it another hour or two and this front will be tracking its way through. We'll start to get some of those changes. Now this is around 5 o'clock, still showing some showers and storms, I think probably south of San Antonio at that point. And then by 7 o'clock, it's pushing into our southern counties and we're getting those gusty winds by the evening hours and clearing out some overnight. There's the scene outside right now and temperatures at 85 at Stinson Kelly and at the airport, 84 Randolph. And the cloud cover, you can see those clouds kind of trying to pop up there. That's some of those pop-up showers. And as we zoom out, you can clearly pick out where that front is right there. So it's making its way through Fredericksburg, Rock Springs Junction. And it's not going to be a sharp drop off with the temperatures, but by this evening, you'll feel the difference. And it will be a pretty sharp drop off when we're talking dew points. They're in the 30s and 40s behind the front, out ahead of it in the 70s, and it is still very, very humid. Temperature-wise, it's dropped to 68 in San Angelo, 63 in Abilene, 75 Waco, but still in the 80s and even upper 80s as you get down into the valley. And the wind gusts have been pretty significant behind this front, too, gusting to 33 up there in Wichita Falls. That's what we have to look forward to. Some gusty winds overnight, gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. I know this says 25, 26, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few gusts up around 30, even into tomorrow morning. Winds will be breezy for the first half of the day on Saturday and then dying down some during the afternoon. So we're up to 87. We'll probably peak here next couple of hours temperature-wise, and then those numbers will start to tumble with the front. Extended forecast, 75 tomorrow, 73 Sunday after our morning low of 48, 82 Monday, 82 Tuesday, and more clouds by the middle part of next week with a slight chance of a shower or storm. We'll be right back.